The human colony of Nova Esperanza shimmered under twin suns, its gleaming domes and sprawling agricultural fields marking humanity's most ambitious venture beyond Earth's solar system. 3 years of peace had allowed the settlement to flourish, families building lives amid the planet's purple-hued forests and crystal lakes. Una Park skipped along the edge of the settlement's eastern boundary, her small collection bag already half-filled with the iridescent pebbles that littered the shoreline. At 6 years old, she was fearless and curious, the daughter of 2 prominent scientists who had helped establish the colony's advanced hydroponics systems. 5 more minutes, then home, she sang to herself, repeating her mother's instructions as she spotted a particularly shiny stone just beyond the marker buoys. The security perimeter hummed quietly, designed to keep dangerous wildlife away rather than to protect against any sentient threat. No one had expected visitors in this remote corner of the galaxy. The first shadow fell across the lake without warning. Una looked up as sunlight dimmed, her eyes widening at the massive ship hovering above. It was unlike the smooth, curved vessels humans built, this was angular and bristling with what could only be weapons. 3 smaller craft detached from its underside, descending toward the colony. In the command center, Director Taejun Ryu watched the approaching ships with growing alarm. "Broadcast all welcome protocols," he ordered, activating the colony-wide alert system. "And get the children to the shelter." The incoming transmission came through garbled but understandable. "This territory now belongs to the Talon Imperium. Your unauthorized settlement is trespassing on claimed space." Taejun tried reasoning with them. "This planet was unclaimed when we arrived. We've registered our colony with the Galactic Registry. We welcome diplomatic discussion." The Talon commander's face appeared on screen, his skin a pale blue with ridged features that didn't move as he spoke. "The registry has no authority here. You will evacuate immediately or face removal." At the lakeshore, the colony's warning sirens began to wail. Una dropped her pebbles and turned toward home, breaking into a run as she'd been taught during drills. The emergency drones activated, flying toward outlying colonists to guide them to safety. One drone found Una, projecting a holographic arrow pointing toward the shelter. "Follow me, Una," the drone's calming voice instructed. "Your parents are waiting." The girl nodded, following the drone's guidance until a blast of energy struck it from above. The drone sparked and fell to the ground as one of the smaller Talon ships hovered overhead. A beam of light swept the area. In the command center, all screens suddenly showed the lakeshore feed. Director Taejun watched in horror as Una stood alone, looking up at the alien craft. "There's a child out there," he shouted into the communication channel. "She's not a threat. Please allow our security team to retrieve her." The Talon commander's expression didn't change. "Colonists were instructed to evacuate. Examples must be made." Before anyone could respond, a weapon discharged from the hovering craft. The ground around Una erupted, throwing her small body into the air. The emergency broadcast captured everything: her fall, the stillness that followed, the Talon ship calmly moving on to sweep another area. "Monster!" Director Taejun screamed at the screen. "She was a child." The Talon commander looked bored. "One human or 1,000, it makes no difference. This world is now Talon territory. You have 6 hours to begin evacuation." The transmission ended. In stunned silence, the command center staff watched as the colony's medical team rushed to Una's motionless form. The doctor's voice came through clearly on the emergency channel: "She's gone." The news reached Earth 8 hours later. The emergency broadcast, including Una's final moments, was viewed by billions. Government assemblies fell silent. Military commanders wept openly. Parents held their children tighter. In the orbital office of Earth's United Defense Council, Admiral Haewon Kim watched the footage for the 3rd time, his weathered face revealing nothing of the storm within. 10 years earlier, his son had died when pirates attacked a research vessel. The pain had never fully healed. "The Talon Imperium claims to have never heard of us before," reported his aide. "They've given Nova Esperanza 3 days to completely evacuate." Admiral Kim nodded slowly, then turned to the window overlooking Earth's orbital defense grid. "Activate the Sentinel protocol," he said quietly. All of it. His aide looked startled. Sir, the Sentinel fleet has never been deployed. The Council hasn't authorized dash. They will, Kim interrupted. Show them what I've seen. No species that begins its relationship with humanity by murdering our children deserves diplomatic consideration. Across the solar system, deep in classified facilities scattered throughout asteroids and moons, lights began to come on in hangars that had waited decades for this moment. Earth was going to war. The emergency session of Earth's United Defense Council stretched into its third hour. Admiral Haewon Kim stood motionless before the assembled leaders, his hands clasped behind his back as the final moments of Unipark's life played on the main screen for the 7th time. Enough, said President Seo finally, her voice cracking. We've seen enough. The room fell silent. Around the circular table sat the 12 members of the council, their faces reflecting shock, grief, and growing anger. Outside, crowds had gathered in cities worldwide, vigils for a child most had never known but whose death had united humanity in grief. The Talons have refused all further communication, reported Defense Minister June. Their ships have established orbital positions above Nova Esperanza. They're beginning ground operations. Admiral Kim nodded once. Then it's time. I request full activation of the Sentinel fleet. A murmur ran through the room. For 50 years, Earth had presented itself to the galactic community as a minor power with limited military capabilities. Only a handful of people knew the truth that beneath the surface of Jupiter's moons, hidden in asteroid bases, and concealed in deep ocean facilities on Earth itself, humanity had been building its real defense force. The Sentinel fleet has never been deployed, said Minister Choi, her expression troubled. It would reveal everything we've kept hidden. A child is dead, replied Admiral Kim simply. Our deception was meant for a moment like this, when we truly needed the element of surprise. President Seo stood slowly. We must be clear about what we're authorizing. This isn't just about retribution for one death, however tragic. If the Talons would kill a child so casually during first contact, what else are they capable of? What have they done to other species we haven't met? The Council voted unanimously. Within the hour, coded signals traveled to secret facilities throughout the solar system. In the darkness beneath Europa's ice, massive hangar doors opened for the first time. The cruiser Retribution rose from its decades-long slumber, its hull gleaming under emergency lights. Similar scenes played out across the solar system on Callisto, in the Kuiper Belt, in Earth's Marianas Trench as humanity's hidden guardians awakened. Admiral Kim walked the length of the docking bay aboard the flagship Vindicator, watching as crew members boarded. Many were veterans who had trained for years for this moment. Others were younger, pulled from regular service because of exceptional skills. Admiral, said a voice behind him. He turned to see Captain Minho Kong, his newly assigned second-in-command. Engineering reports all systems at 98%. We can launch within 3 hours. Kim nodded. Good. And the special weapons systems? The Sunflower cannons are operational on all heavy cruisers. The quantum displacement technology is still stabilizing but will be ready before we reach Talon space. They walked together toward the bridge, passing crew members who straightened respectfully. The Vindicator was over 2 kilometers long, its design unlike anything Earth had publicly acknowledged building. Its hull contained materials developed in secret, capable of absorbing or reflecting most known weapons. On the bridge, officers worked at stations preparing the ship for departure. A holographic display showed the gathering fleet, 47 major vessels and over 200 support craft, all hidden for decades while Earth presented older, less capable ships to the galaxy. Captain Kong handed the Admiral a small data tablet. The latest intelligence on Nova Esperanza. The Talons have established ground bases and are cataloging colony resources. Any update on our colonists? Most are being held in the main habitat dome. Some scientists are being interrogated about our technology. Kong hesitated. They've desecrated Unipark's memorial. They seem confused by how much attention humans pay to a single child's death. Admiral Kim's face hardened. He touched a control, and a small hologram appeared above his desk. Unipark smiling, taken from colony records. They'll understand soon enough. Across Earth, civilians watched in awe as previously unknown ships rose from oceans or descended from camouflaged orbital platforms. News channels struggled to explain the sudden appearance of this fleet that dwarfed what most citizens had believed was Earth's total military strength. In his private quarters aboard the Vindicator, Admiral Kim recorded a message to his wife. "I don't know when I'll return," he said quietly. "What we do in the coming days will change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. But remember what you told me after we lost Jiho, that protecting children is the most fundamental duty of any civilized species." He paused, touching the screen gently. "I carry that truth with me into battle." 6 hours later, the fleet assembled in formation beyond Jupiter's orbit. On the Vindicator's bridge, Admiral Kim gave a single command: "Take us to Nova Esperanza." Maximum speed. The ships vanished into hyperspace, carrying humanity's awakened fury toward an enemy who had yet to understand their fatal mistake. The Sentinel fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Talon-controlled system, ships materializing in perfect formation against the backdrop of unfamiliar stars. On the bridge of the Vindicator, Admiral Kim watched as tactical displays automatically mapped the system's defenses. 17 Talon vessels detected, reported Lieutenant Hyun, her fingers moving across the sensor array. Most are concentrated around Nova Esperanza. Their technology appears to be primitive compared to ours. Admiral Kim nodded. The intelligence was correct. The Talons had expanded through this sector, bullying weaker species, never encountering meaningful resistance. They had no idea what they had provoked. "All ships maintain position," he ordered. "Activate stealth systems and launch reconnaissance drones. I want detailed scans of their fleet capabilities and the status of our colonists." The drones, barely larger than a human hand, streaked away from the fleet, their advanced cloaking technology making them virtually undetectable. Within minutes, they were transmitting data back to the Vindicator. "Sir," said Captain Kong with obvious concern, "the drones are detecting more than just our colonists on the planet. There appear to be at least 3 other sentient species being held in labor camps." Kim's expression darkened. "Show me." The main viewscreen shifted to drone footage of Nova Esperanza's surface. The once beautiful colony was now scarred with Talon mining operations. Human colonists worked under armed guard alongside blue-skinned humanoids and insectoid beings Kim didn't recognize. "They've turned our colony into a slave camp in less than a week," whispered Lieutenant Hyun. The Admiral studied the footage carefully. "Can we identify where they're holding the majority of our people?" "The main habitat dome has been converted into a detention center," replied Captain Kong. "Approximately 2,300 colonists are there, including 437 children." Kim's jaw tightened at the mention of children. "Deploy the fleet. Cruiser Group 1 will establish position near the planet. Group 2 will intercept any Talon vessels that attempt to flee. The Vindicator will approach their command ship directly." As the massive human fleet moved into the system, alarms finally began to sound throughout the Talon vessels. Their communications erupted with confused chatter as sensors detected ships far larger and more numerous than anything in their records of human capabilities. The largest Talon vessel, clearly their flagship, began powering weapons systems. Admiral Kim watched calmly as the Vindicator closed the distance. "They're attempting to lock weapons," reported the tactical officer. "Let them," replied Kim. "Shield strength at maximum." The Talon ship fired first, a barrage of energy weapons that splashed harmlessly against the Vindicator's advanced shields. The bridge crew remained steady, many smiling grimly at the ineffectiveness of the attack. "Open a channel," ordered Kim. The viewscreen flickered to show the Talon commander, the same one who had so casually ordered Unipark's death. His ridged blue face showed the first signs of concern. "This is Admiral Hae-won Kim of Earth's Sentinel Fleet. You have attacked a human colony, murdered our citizens, and enslaved our people. Your actions constitute an act of war against humanity." The Talon's eyes widened slightly. "Your records showed minimal defense capabilities." "This deception." "No deception," interrupted Kim. Merely prudence. We have monitored your empire's expansion. We know how you've conquered and enslaved other species. We chose to keep our true strength hidden until needed. The Talon commander regained his composure. Whatever your strength, the Talon Empire spans dozens of systems. We will crush. You murdered a child, Kim said quietly, his calm voice somehow more terrifying than if he had shouted. A 6-year-old girl picking up stones by a lake. She posed no threat, yet you killed her to make a point. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across the alien's face. The death of one human is insignificant. Not to us. Kim nodded to his tactical officer. The Vindicator's weapons systems, technology far beyond anything the Talons possessed, locked onto the enemy flagship's engine section. A precisely targeted pulse disabled their propulsion without destroying the vessel. Across the system, similar scenes played out as human vessels systematically disabled the Talon fleet. Not a single ship was destroyed, each was precisely crippled, leaving crews alive but helpless. Your ships are disabled, Admiral Kim informed the stunned commander. Your ground forces on Nova Esperanza are now cut off. You have two options: surrender immediately and release all beings you've enslaved, or witness the full capabilities of the fleet you've provoked. The Talon commander looked away, consulting with unseen advisors. When he turned back, his rigid confidence had vanished. We require time to consider your demands. Admiral Kim shook his head. You gave a child no time. You have 1 hour. As the communication ended, Captain Kong approached the Admiral. Sir, our drones have discovered something else. The Talons have established similar forced labor colonies on at least 6 other worlds in nearby systems. Kim stood before the tactical display, studying the expanding map of Talon territory. Then we have more work to do. Prepare landing teams for Nova Esperanza. Priority 1 is securing our colonists and any other enslaved species. And after that, asked Captain Kong. The Admiral looked at the small hologram of Unipark he kept on his command console. After that, we teach the Talon Empire that humanity protects the innocent, all of them, regardless of species. The hour passed with no response from the Talon commander. Admiral Kim had expected nothing less. Intelligence gathered from the disabled ships revealed the Talons had called for reinforcements from their core territories. Their strategy was to delay until their main battle fleet could arrive. They believe we're bluffing, Captain Kong said, reviewing the intercepted communications. Their military doctrine doesn't accept the possibility of defeat. Kim nodded, watching the tactical display as the dots representing the approaching Talon armada grew closer. Begin the liberation of Nova Esperanza. And prepare the fleet for Phase 2. Landing craft descended to the colony's surface, their advanced stealth systems allowing them to bypass Talon ground defenses. Marine Commander Jisoo Park led the first team into the detention area where human colonists were held. We're with Earth's Sentinel fleet, she announced as scared faces looked up from behind energy barriers. We're taking you home. As the barriers fell, a thin man stepped forward, Director Taejun Ryu, his face showing a week of suffering. They killed her, he said hoarsely. They killed Yuna and laughed about it. Commander Park placed a hand on his shoulder. We know. That's why we're here. Above the planet, Admiral Kim watched as the main Talon battle fleet emerged from hyperspace, 73 warships arranged in attacking formation. Their flagship dwarfed the vessels the humans had already disabled, its weapons batteries immediately charging. They're broadcasting a message, reported Lieutenant Hyun. The main view screen showed a different Talon commander, his ceremonial armor indicating higher rank. This is Supreme War Leader Dole of the Talon Empire. Your attack on our forces is noted. Your surrender will be accepted for the next 10 minutes. After that, your species will face extinction. Admiral Kim didn't respond immediately. Instead, he opened a channel to the entire human fleet. Sentinel ships, execute Formation Sunfall. Phase 2 is now active. The human vessels moved with coordinated precision that stunned the watching Talon commanders. Ships that appeared to be simple cruisers suddenly reconfigured, weapon ports opening along previously smooth hulls. The Vindicator's massive form began to separate, revealing that what had appeared to be one ship was actually a carrier with smaller, heavily armed vessels nested inside. "Now we can respond," Kim said calmly. "Open channel." The Supreme War leader's face appeared again, his expression faltering slightly at the unexpected transformation of the human fleet. "This will be your only warning," said Admiral Kim. "Release all enslaved beings in your territory. Withdraw from all conquered worlds. Face justice for your crimes against sentient species." The Talon leader barked a laugh. "The Empire does not negotiate with primitives. Our records show your kind barely achieved spaceflight a century ago." "Your records are incomplete," replied Kim. "A common problem for empires that don't bother to learn about their opponents." Without further discussion, he closed the channel and gave a simple command: engage. What followed was unlike anything the Talons had experienced in their centuries of conquest. Human ships moved in patterns that seemed impossible, their targeting systems striking with precision that disabled rather than destroyed when possible. Where the Talons expected conventional energy weapons, they instead faced technology that temporarily disrupted the fabric of space itself, leaving their ships intact but powerless. On the Talon flagship's bridge, Supreme War leader Dole watched in growing horror as his fleet was systematically taken apart. "How is this possible?" he demanded of his science officer. "They show no signs of having quantum displacement technology." "They've hidden their true capabilities," the science officer admitted. "These humans, they've been watching us, studying us. They knew exactly how to counter our systems." In the midst of the battle, the Vindicator approached the Talon flagship directly. Admiral Kim stood calmly as his ship easily evaded the increasingly desperate attacks from the enemy vessel. "Target their command center only," he ordered. Minimal force. A precisely calculated energy pulse struck the Talon ship, shorting out its bridge systems without harming the crew. Emergency lighting bathed Supreme War leader Dole's face as he realized his defeat was total. "Sir," reported Captain Kong, "all Talon vessels have been neutralized. No casualties reported among our fleet. Ground teams have secured Nova Esperanza and freed the colonists." Admiral Kim nodded. "And the other species being held there?" "Representatives are requesting asylum with Earth. They're called the Varani and the Krell. Both worlds were conquered by the Talons within the last 5 years." Kim studied the tactical display showing the disabled Talon fleet, once considered the dominant power in this sector, now floating helplessly. "Prepare boarding parties for the Talon flagship. I want to meet Supreme War leader Dole in person." As he prepared to confront the defeated Talon leader, Admiral Kim received one more report that confirmed his suspicions. The Sentinel fleet's advanced scanning systems had detected energy signatures matching Talon technology on 12 more worlds beyond this system, all likely sites of conquest and enslavement. "This battle is finished," he told Captain Kong, "but our mission has just begun." Supreme War leader Dole knelt on the polished floor of the Vindicator's conference room, stripped of his ceremonial armor. Around the table sat representatives of species the Talons had conquered: the blue-skinned Varani, the insectoid Krell, and 3 other races whose worlds had been liberated in the week since the battle at Nova Esperanza. Admiral Kim entered last, his simple uniform a stark contrast to the elaborate dress of the alien representatives. He carried a small object wrapped in cloth. "The Talon Empire has formally surrendered," he announced. "Their governing council has agreed to withdraw from all conquered territories and to submit to the justice of the species they've harmed." Dole's head snapped up. "The council cannot surrender. They have no authority over military matters." Kim looked down at the defeated commander. "Your council disagrees. Perhaps seeing your entire fleet disabled in a single battle changed their perspective." He unwrapped the object he carried, a simple stone from the shore of Nova Esperanza's lake. "This was in Una Park's collection bag when your forces killed her. One child's treasure, deemed worthless by your empire." Kim placed the stone in the center of the table. "Yet her death revealed what your empire could not see, that humans hide their strength until needed, that we value life over conquest, and that we will rise with unstoppable force when innocents are harmed." The Varani ambassador leaned forward, her luminous eyes fixed on the stone. "My people have a saying, the smallest seed may grow the mightiest tree. This human child's death grew a forest that sheltered us all. 3 days later, Kim stood on the rebuilt memorial site where Unipark had died. The lake sparkled under the twin suns, peaceful once more. Around him, colonists had returned to Nova Esperanza, joined by refugees from other liberated worlds who had nowhere else to go. Director Taejun Ryu approached slowly. "The Colony Council has voted to rename our settlement," he said quietly. "When the rebuilding is complete, this will be Yuna City." Kim nodded. "A fitting tribute. And what happens now? To the Talons?" "Justice, not vengeance," Kim replied. "A tribunal with representatives from all affected species will determine appropriate restitution. Their empire will be dismantled, but their homeworld remains their own." Across the galaxy, news of Earth's hidden fleet and its swift victory spread rapidly. Diplomatic channels that had once treated humans as minor players suddenly hummed with activity. Species that had never contacted Earth now sent representatives, eager to establish relations with the power that had humbled the Talons. On Earth, crowds gathered to welcome the returning colonists. President Seo addressed a global audience from the steps of the United Nations building. "Today marks a new chapter in human history," she declared. "We have revealed our true strength to the galaxy, but more importantly, we have demonstrated our true values. Earth stands not just for human interests, but for the protection of all sentient life." Behind her stood representatives of the liberated species, the first members of what would become the Galactic Protection Alliance. Each wore a small pin shaped like a flower, the symbol chosen to represent Unipark. In the following months, other oppressed species reached out to Earth, seeking protection from various threats. The Sentinel fleet, now operating openly, became a peacekeeping force throughout the sector. Admiral Kim led diplomatic missions to 22 worlds, establishing new alliances and trade agreements. 1 year after Yuna's death, Admiral Kim returned to Nova Esperanza, now a thriving multicultural city where humans lived alongside 4 other species. He walked alone to the memorial garden that marked where Yuna had fallen. The garden had been designed by Varani artists, with Krell stonework and human plantings. In its center stood a simple statue of a child holding a collection of stones, her face turned toward the stars. As Kim placed a small pebble at the statue's base, a tradition that had spontaneously emerged among visitors, he noticed a Talon standing quietly at the garden's edge. The admiral recognized him as one of the younger officers from the defeated fleet. "Why are you here?" Kim asked, his voice neither hostile nor welcoming. The Talon looked down. "I commanded the patrol that day. I did not give the order to fire, but I did nothing to stop it. I needed to see her." Kim studied him carefully. "And what do you see now?" "The mistake that doomed an empire," the Talon said softly. "But also, the beginning of something better." Kim nodded and turned back to the statue. "Remember that. Tell others." As the sun set over Yuna City, ships from a dozen worlds orbited peacefully above. On their hulls, many now carried the small flower emblem, a promise to protect the innocent, and a reminder that the universe had learned an important lesson: harm one human child, and you awaken a sleeping giant.